In the entire Quran, the word Ra'd, i.e. thunder, was only mentioned 2 times in 2 separate surahs, i.e. chapters. The first mention was in chapter 2, ayah, i.e. verse 19, which already raises questions because 19 is the main key in Quran mathematics, so we already think this may be a thread to follow. My own contribution is that I will also note that from the word thunder, Ra'd, until the end of the verse are 13 words. Looking deeper into this, we amazingly find the following. The first mention of thunder was in chapter 2, and 2 equals total mentions of thunder in the Quran. If the chapter number reflects the number of times thunder is mentioned in the Quran, what about the verse number 19? The first mention was in verse 19, and amazingly, verse 19 has 19 words. The mathematical harmony is striking. If the 2 referred to the number of mentions of thunder in the Quran, does the 19 also refer to both verses? We check the verse with the second mention of thunder, and surprisingly, that verse too is also exactly 19 words. Subhanallah. The first mention of thunder gives the number of mentions for thunder in the Quran and the number of words for the verses that mention thunder in the Quran. But what about this 13? Amazingly, the code of the first mention of thunder in the Quran also highlights both the chapter number and the verse number of the second mention of thunder in the Quran as verse 13 in chapter 13, which literally is titled Chapter the Thunder. In fact, this is also confirmed when we realize that counting from the start of the Quran, we find that this first mention is verse 26 from the start of the Quran, and 26 equals 13 plus 13. Subhanallah. This again shows the first mention of thunder in the Quran pointing to chapter 13, verse 13, which are chapter the thunder, and verse the thunder within it. This is truly an amazing, harmonious mathematical code, but we are not done yet. Brace yourself for what is truly mind-boggling. If the verses are this tightly connected down to the number of words, with the first verse having 19 words and the second verse also having 19 words, why not also count the letters of the verses? There are 2 methods to counting the letters. The first is called method A in my book and is based on grammar rules, while the second I called method B and is based on Quran writing. Using method B, in the first verse, we find that there are exactly 83 letters. Then when we look at the second verse, we are stunned to find them also a total of exactly 83 letters. This is miraculously perfect mathematical harmony. But just in case one may accuse us of being selective here, by not using the other counting method, we go ahead and also count using the method A and find that the first verse has exactly 86 letters, and the second verse also has exactly 86 letters. Either way, they are an exact match. And keep in mind that these are the only verses in the Quran that mention thunder. Words cannot describe our amazement. This is simply impossible and beyond human capacity. But before we get over these mind-boggling findings, we learn even more. Keeping all of this in mind, does this mean that the verses will also match in other ways? Looking at the letters of the word thunder in Arabic, Ra'd, we find that they appeared in the first verse, i.e. chapter 2, verse 19, a total of 9 times. Then when we look at the repetitions of these letters in the second verse, we are stunned that there too they repeated a total of exactly 9 times. Subhanallah. This alone defeats all doubt. Yet the miraculous in the Quran is endless, so we are not surprised to learn that there is always more. In a previous video, we saw how chapter 1 in the Quran is called the mother of the Quran and is tightly connected with the rest of the Quran. When we check the number of times the letters of the word thunder, Ra'd, appear in chapter 1, there are 18 repetitions. But what is 18? Amazingly, 18 is the number of times the letters of this word, thunder, in Arabic, Ra'd, appear in the only 2 verses that mention thunder in the Quran. Subhanallah, the mathematical harmony is endless. We, however, noticed a strange pattern. The letters of thunder repeated each exactly 8 times in the verses of the Quran that mentioned thunder. But what could this mean, if anything? Remember that in our previous videos, we had seen the stunning role of prime numbers and how their order is a main key in Quran math. Amazingly, we find that the 6th prime number is 13, and 13 is both the chapter thunder and verse thunder within that chapter. We saw how the letters of Ra'd, i.e. thunder, repeated in both thunder verses exactly 18 times. But what about the other form of the word, which is al-Ra'd, i.e. the thunder? So we check. We find that the letters of the thunder appeared in these verses 61 times. Can you see it? Yes. Shockingly, 61 is the 18th prime number. Subhanallah. Of course, there is more to this, but at some point this video must end. How can an illiterate man, ﷺ, over 14 centuries ago, do what humanity today, with all its technology, simply cannot come close to doing, and at the same time be a linguistically unchallengeable book?